Hey Adirondack Club family, it's Colin. This week we're going to talk about basically the tiers of development that we look at. We run a couple different programs here, all the way from our 7-year-olds all the way up to our high school and college aged athletes. And each group needs some different layers of training. When we're looking at our 7 to 10 group, we call that like our discovery group. That's all about movement exploration. Get them moving. Think about PE class, but with a little bit, but in our training environment where we can do some different things that you may not be able to do in a large PE class. That's skipping, that's hopping, that's medicine ball slinging, really exposing them to as many different training exercises and tools, and really what the most important part is making sure that the kids are having fun and they're enjoying the training environment. Our 7 to 10 year olds aren't, some are pretty focused in sport, but it's not the best time to do that. There's so many different athletic traits that we want to work on with those athletes to help. So in the future, when they come and see us as a middle schooler or in a high school, that they didn't miss some really key steps. And we've had athletes who've come in who focus specifically on their sport, never did any strength training, didn't really pay attention in PE, and they can't skip. And skipping is a fundamental athletic movement. That doesn't bode well for him as he's moving through his years. Right? He's a sophomore, and we're trying to teach this kid how to skip. And worse, and there's athletes we know that I worked with in the college level that all they did was play their sport. They never focused on how they move, and they missed out on a lot of critical movements. So in the college level, he had to totally regress and had to sit on the bench until he figured out how to move athletically enough to keep up with the rest of the athletes in the game. The next layer is that middle school group. So maybe our 10-year-olds, 11-year-olds, all the way up to about 14. This is our kind of train-to-train group. So we're teaching them how to train, be in a training environment. We can get a little bit more serious with our programming. It's definitely way more structured where we're following a pattern, our warm-up, our skill work, speed and agility skill work. We're getting into some power training. We're teaching them how to Olympic lift. We're starting with some really light weights, and some of our middle school players actually progress to some pretty significant weights. It's not uncommon to see a middle school athlete goblet squatting 60 pounds that have been working with us for a while and cleaning about 50 pounds. But they had to start with the training bar, and that's where our environment is a really cool environment because we have all the tools to work with these kids at their age and their body level where they can manage working with these tools. So in a lot of training facilities, it's all 45-pound bars, and we can't bring those things back to work with somebody who's not strong enough. We got a 15-pound bar, we've got PVC pipe, we've got everything these kids will need, and that's how you take the middle school age and train them appropriately. Still, fun is our number one goal, and teaching them all the cool stuff that they can do and how it can impact their performance. At the high school level, it's training for performance. Okay, it's very focused. Our goal is everything we need to do is focusing on improving their on-field performance. And if things are distracting from that or taken away from that, we'll pull those out. These are a little bit, we can get a little more fancy with the program and put in more advanced lifts if they're coordinated enough. But a lot of our kids actually start with our middle school program at the high school level because they have no strength and conditioning experience, and those level 1 progressions are really good because we want to keep building them up to the more advanced progressions that some of our, we'll call it the veteran group. These are kids that have done 2 or 3 sessions with us in a row that haven't missed training, and they can work up to some pretty wild things. Our late high school and college, and that's a very serious program. That's no messing around. We're getting in, we're working extremely hard. We may start working at percentages of their max effort, so maybe a 1 rep max of bench, and we're working at percentages. The program's going to get a little bit more fine-tuned and a little bit more serious, and then a lot more tracking to help them prep for sport. And then there's a lot of modifications because at the college level, you probably have a couple injuries you're working around, or some very specific conditioning needs that your coach requires you to play for a specific position. So under the college level, it's still general athletic development. We want to make your athletes as robust as possible so they can dominate in all 3 sports that they play in. We encourage playing multiple sports because you get all that movement. So kind of a long-winded answer on how we look at our program with your athletes. If you've got questions, let me know. We'd love to work with your athlete or chat more about how strength and conditioning is so important to your athlete's performance and well-being.